It is the Lion Villain Report. It is Monday, July 29th. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, full pad training camp starts today. They're going to start hitting people. They're going to start hitting people today.
You like that?
Let me know if you can hear that. You like that.
You like that?
You like that.
You like that?
Cousins is in the house. We're
You
talking
like
about
that?
training camp. You know what? I don't care if Kirk Cousins plays for the Atlanta Falcons. That drop
You like that?
is never going to leave this show. I like that. I like that drop. We're broadcasting live today into the Lions Villain Squad Facebook page. And you can go over there and follow. We have 51,000 villains, man. Take this journey with us all the way to the NFC Championship last year and all the way to the Super Bowl this year. Going to hoist that Lombardi here in Detroit. I don't care what anybody says. I'm saying the word Super Bowl. I'm saying the word Super Bowl also on the Detroit Lions News Podcast. That's Joe Chapp and the boys. Thank you very, very much for allowing us to broadcast into your spot. Brand new relationships here at the Villain Squad. JC Sports on YouTube is now hosting this with us. And also, we are on Roku on the Huddle Sports Network. So we're making the connections here. Even though we're small time, we like to think that we're big time. No, but we love big time football. We love big time football. And we love this time of year. Even though it's hot outside, it's probably not going to be hot forever. I'm going to bring on one of my favorite people in the whole world right here. This is Main Event Mike, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, Russ. We have big news out of the Lions camp this morning. Glad to be on the show.
That you're looking like a ghost coming out of the your green screen is half working. That's all right. We have low production. If you want us to have better production, you can just hit that Patreon right there, Villain Squad, because we need all the help we can get, Mike.
Yeah, not a green screen, actually a virtual background. I'm not in the studio today, so I didn't want to show the back of my garage for everybody. So just a virtual background. We'll have to get through it today.
I thought that you were just over at Gary's house.
Yeah, that's very soon, my friend.
Oh, man.
The news just broke 4 or 5 minutes ago, Russ, so I don't know if you've heard about the breaking news out of Lions camp today. I'll let you introduce it when you're ready. If you don't know, you just kick it over to me when you're ready.
No, I'm kicking it over to you. I'm chomping at the bit right here. Hold on, let me put you over here. There you go. You're in the news breaking slot. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
4 minutes ago, news out of Allen Park. The Detroit Lions have re-signed Taylor Decker. As we predicted on this show before the weekend,
the kneecap off.
we said that there aren't going to be any free agents being used with that surplus of cap money that we have. We're going to go in-house and re-sign either Lee McNeil or Taylor Decker. We speculated it might be Lee McNeil, but it looks like it is. Taylor Decker signs a 3-year extension worth $31 million, $31.6 million, 31.83 guaranteed. Oh, I'm sorry, it's $316 million. Boy, a decimal point can make a big difference. It's the 31.83 million is guaranteed. 31.83. That's what it is.
So they're not
Taylor Decker locked up now.
So Taylor Decker, just so everybody knows, Taylor Decker is not getting $100 million per year.
Right.
Oh gosh, but 3-year extension. You're saying $31 million. I mean, there's not a person.
Yep. Go ahead.
There's not a person alive right now that should be. I mean, $10 million a year extension.
Hold on, it's $60 million. It's a 3-year, $60 million. Okay, and 31.83 is guaranteed. It just broke literally less than 5 minutes ago. So $60 million over 3 years. So it's $20 million a year for a left tackle, which is the market value. But because Brad Holmes is so good at working these contracts, he's got that cap hit down, and it looks like it's 31.83 in guaranteed money. So a real nice reward for Taylor Decker of being here from the end. I watched the receiver series last night, and it was the episode where they brought Frank Ragnow when they clinched the division, and they brought Taylor Decker up and said, these are the guys, this is for these guys because they've been here suffering the longest, and now they reward him again with $31.8 million in guaranteed money on a $60 million 3-year extension.
Yeah, and look at that. Let's really, really look at that right there, because on the outside, that chocolate-covered candy shell says that it's a $60 million contract, right? But what's the real thing? What have we learned? If you've watched this program at all, especially on my Over the Cap videos, what is the most important thing on that contract, Mike? It's the guaranteed money.
Right. That's what the players, for them, that's the most important thing.
Well, it's the most important thing anyway, because the other part of it, that 60 million, is a fake number. Because what they're really going to get paid once they get past that $31 million in guarantees, that just makes the contract voidable, movable. Like there's no risk in getting rid of him for that extra $30 million. So the real number is $31 million. They're only on the hook for $10 million per season in guaranteed money. Now,
right.
All of that
the details of the contract, the details of the contract have not been released yet. The full details, I mean, like you're saying, but we don't know exactly the particulars yet. I have not been able to find anything.
So and the details are going to tell you what's going to happen with that other $29 million with bonuses. Does he get the play on the roster all 3 years? There's certain like milestones that are going to move those other numbers up. And I'm sure that he's going to reach that and be able to use some of that money. But the thing is, they're able now with that 3 years, they haven't done it on Over the Cap yet. So his number was $19 million in the cap number before the extension. So I don't know what it's going to go to now, but I'm sure that they are going to end up with more cap money than $34 million by the time they show what this is. When they show that this is a move where they're kicking that can down the road with the left tackle, they're keeping the band together for 3 years. Not only is it Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, and now Taylor Decker are going to be part of the domination that the Detroit Lions are going to go over for the next 3 years. It's the foundation is now set. He ain't going nowhere. You got 3 years to get Manu ready. It's all good now. We don't got to worry. And Taylor Decker is not old. Stop it. He's 31. Don't make me feel any older than I need to feel, because if Taylor Decker's old, then man, I am ancient. I was here in the foundations of the earth or some shit like that. He's not old. It's older for a left tackle, and he's getting paid less than the right tackle. So there's no it's not dumb. It's a very, very good signing. I really like the signing. What do you think of the signing, Mike?
I think it's just what we said on Friday's show, on this very show on Friday. We said that extra surplus we have in the cap, we're going to use that to lock up one of the people on the team right now, because the audience was speculating who would we, spend that money on in free agency. And I said, I think it's going to be one of our own, either Taylor Decker or Lee McNeil. I really thought it was going to be a Lee McNeil. But I love it. I love, like you said, we're keeping the band together. That Super Bowl window is open for the Detroit Lions. And in this league, that window doesn't last long. And I think Taylor Decker is an integral part of that machine, a cog in that machine that they want to keep this window open to try to win a Super Bowl this year, next year, or the next year. They've got all the pieces in place. It sure does seem like all of these extensions, though, are coming on the offensive side of the ball, right? So I think next year we're going to see this same kind of posturing and maneuvering by Brad Holmes on the other side of the ball.
Sure. And they're doing a great job at staggering these contracts. Like you have no idea unless you're really looking into to the over the cap and seeing how they're doing these things. And when you're going into the next off season, you have no idea how great that is to go into the off season where other teams are going to be like, God, they need to get a left tackle. They need to like there's certain things that we're just not going to need to be looking for. And I've said a lot on this show when it comes to what scares me about teams is not the next guy. Oh, we need to go get Danielle Hunter. We need a pass rusher upset. It's like, no, what we need to do is continue to build through drafting and developing. And a good sign that your team is doing well is when you're extending your own players. We didn't need to go out and get Danielle Hunter. Let the other teams overpay for these guys that have never even seen one of our practices. Like, it's more valuable to have a guy that's been in the system with the same coaching, with the same position coaches for 3 years, same continuity. He knows all the guys on the team. It's way better to extend your own guys. Because what scares me about other teams is not your new guy. Josh Jacobs, you don't scare me. You're brand new. I don't even know if you're going to be good there. What scares me on Green Bay is Dontavian Wicks, the guy that's been in their training camp, in their facility, throwing the ball with Jordan Love. And you should be scared of that the other way, which is our entire friggin' starting team has been here for 3 years underneath the same coaching staff, underneath the same position coaches. And I don't think there's 5 teams in the NFL that can say that. As we're getting into some of these comments right here. Gosh, I haven't even said hello to everybody. I am so sorry. Good morning, Dwayne. Good morning to all. Go Lions. NFC North Division Championship. Going for the second one in a row. Awesome. We got Decker for 3 more years, extended $60 million. Randy's in the house. What's up, Randy? Let's go, Lions.
You like that? You like that?
Scott Harrison up in the house with 2 thumbs up. So you get
You like that?
2 Kirk Cousins. And then there's Elise Memes. Good morning, villains. And Elise is now part of our villain squad. She's going to be putting up content onto our page, and make sure you go over and follow the queen of memes, Elise Memes, and be looking for her content to be coming right onto the Detroit Lion or the Lions Villain Squad page. Steve, Lions going to the Super Bowl, huh? Okay. Taylor Decker got an extension. Okay. Cool. Decker got an extension. Our defense just got a run past him and get Goff easy. That didn't work out too well for you last year.
Yeah. Our defense will just run right past him. Great take, Steve.
Yeah, Taylor Decker and the best offensive line in the world are going to make what should we call him? Rashawn Davenport? Or Marcus Marcus Gary. Like you guys are putting all this faith into an injury prone guy, right? Like at least we're not counting on Davenport like he's counting on Rashawn Gary. Josh up in the house.
You like that?
You got a strong arm. It looks like Uriel Jackson's in the house. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. I have Terrion Arnold jersey. You like that. Get 4 Kirk Cousins for that. And good morning from Darren. Oh, and Uriel says y'all saw my Uriel Jackson jersey. No, this is the text, Uriel. This is the text. I see that you have a text that says that you have Terrion Arnold jersey, but I have not seen your Terrion Arnold jersey. Fred Peterson. Oh, yes, our lone Patreon. He supports.
Good morning, Fred.
Fred is in the house. You like that. I give you 5. I have 5 because I just haven't seen him. I miss you, Fred. Darren says that he's so excited to see what we can bring. Oh, It's on his Facebook page. Everybody, if you have time today, run over to Uriel Jackson's Facebook page. Check out that Terrion Arnold jersey. I don't even know if it's the black one or the blue one yet, but we're going to find out. But here we are. We are in training camp. Right here, the training camp storylines. What are the training camp storylines? J-Mo is beasting. We talked about that last week. E-Man is back. Emmanuel Mosley, after 2 ACL injuries. We thought he was done. We thought it was over. We thought we had 4 cornerbacks and we completely moved on, but he's just like, nah, I'm going to be good too. Spot Track had me at $15 million a year. Just 2 years ago, I blew out some ACLs, and here I am. Oh, gosh. Dan Campbell spoke to the media today, and he was talking about full pads and what that means. And last week, they did a lot of moving guys around, Mike. They moved some guys around. We were like, wow, Emmanuel Mosley's going to be in the slot. No, he's not going to be in the slot. And Dan Campbell talked about that today, where the first week of training camp, they just kind of figure things out. They try people on all kinds of different spots. And this week with the full pads is when they're going to start trying to figure out, who are going to be the top guys. And I think that the biggest storyline in the training camp would have to be the secondary. Don't you think, Mike? What do you think about that?
The revamped defense for sure. Right. In the position battles at corner, who's going to start at the 1 and the 2 and the nickel? Who's going to play safety? Dan Campbell hinted that you were right, Russ. They're going to move Brian Branch back to safety. That means if Melifonwu goes to the bench, I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen. And at this point, as they're doing the ramp up of training camp, and Dan Campbell says Brian Branch moving back to safety, believe me, that is subject to change as well. As these position battles start to shake out and they start to get a real handle on where these guys are going to be slotted on the defensive roster, a lot is going to play out between now and August 8th, which, of course, is the first preseason game. Yes, Fred, 9 a.m. is the new show time for Lions Villain Report with Russell Wayne. I'm just a once-in-a-while special guest, but yes, 9 a.m., 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, actually, Fred.
Actually, it is 6 days a week, Fred.
There you go.
And Fred is, last year, Fred, I'm going to explain this because I did yesterday, but if you weren't on here yesterday, we tried some different things. We started going 5 days a week last year during the off season because, we wanted to up our game. We wanted to up our grind. And we did that. We had it in the morning for a little while, and then we brought on Smoke and Jeremy B for a little while to take over that slot at 11 o'clock, and then I moved my show to 3 o'clock, and that didn't work. I'm just going to be totally honest. I tried to throw it in the afternoon, and it was a tough sell for everybody. So I'm trying it in the morning now, Fred, and I think this is going to work out. I think that we're going to do well here in the morning. Especially with my family and the way that it is. So 9 a.m. every morning, we're gonna be doing this thing, training camp. That's right, brother. Hulkmania is running wild, dude. Dan Campbell Mania. That's right. I don't think that Dan will want to tag partner with him. I think Dan Campbell would turn on Hulk Hogan. I think he could take him. Dan Campbell's the power guy in that tag team, I think.
Dan Campbell would be great tag team partners with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's right. And I have
That'd
piece
be a
of
dream
content.
tag team match.
Oh, I got a Stone Cold Stunner piece of content coming out right there with Dan Campbell with Hulk Hogan's face right there. That's right. And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to, I don't know if that partnership's going to work out all that well, especially after all the ugly comments I got just for putting up the damn picture. By the way, people, here's the way the page works. We are a Lions page, and that's it. We talk football. That's it. So if you want to make something more out of the news that we're reporting, I cannot help that Hulk Hogan and Clarissa Shields showed up at training camp. And you feel one way or another. I don't care about none of that stuff. We report the news. And if Eminem shows up at camp, Mike and I are going to say, hey, guess what? Eminem showed up at camp today. So that's it. That's as far as I want to go with it. And this is the type of stuff right here that I want to talk about. Who's going to be the pass rusher opposite Hutchinson? Marcus Davenport seems like he's in camp right now, and he's already made a statement that he wants to prove that he can stay healthy. I mean, you got to. I mean, I don't know how confident that you have these Lions fans that you're just going to come in and be that dog opposite Hutchinson, but I certainly hope that you are, Marcus Davenport. What do you think, Mike?
I think it is Marcus Davenport, that's the plan, yep. And that's been the plan all along. Brad Holmes knows return on investment. He knows value when he sees it. This guy was the 12th overall pick in the NFL draft and 6 seasons, 6 years on the IR. If this is the year he can stay healthy, he is the guy opposite Hutch. So I think that's what they're banking on. The strength and conditioning staff at Detroit is known as one of the best in the league. So perhaps they can maybe add a little grit to it. I don't know, rub a little dirt on it, get out there and play again. I don't know. I mean, but he's had some injuries that aren't the kind that make you soft, right? I mean, like a broken ankle. You just can't go out there and play on a broken ankle unless you're Isaiah Thomas. Then you score 25 in the last quarter. But, I mean, these aren't ticky-tack injuries that he's had. And on the years when he is healthy, when he is in games, he's uber productive. He averages a sack every 3 games. So that's a good clip. If he can stay on the field for all 17 games, you're looking at over double-digit sacks.
I love that call. And one thing that the Lions have with Davenport, and what I wanted to say with this, and I brought this type of thing up before, but Hutchinson played over 1,000 snaps last year. This dude very rarely leaves the field on any down, and he is a workhorse on that side. And I think what everybody wants is another Hutchinson on the other side that can be that workhorse that can just be out there all the time. And I don't think that that's the way that we're going to do it. Davenport last year, when he went to Minnesota, they paid him like some obscene amount of money, like $13 or $15 million to come in for a year. And they were expecting him to be the dog opposite of Daniil Hunter. And the thing is, that's how you get injured. If you're going out there with all the snaps. With the Lions, that's not what they're going to do with him. They got James Houston. They got John Kaminsky. They got Josh Pascal. They got Matthew Betts. They have other options. And you're going to see Hutchinson playing 92% of the snaps. And then you're probably going to see 3 or 4 other guys playing, 20, and constantly rotating that other guy. Hutchinson's going to be the only one out there playing that many snaps. And Aaron Glenn loves to rotate those defensive linemen in there. So I think that right there, just that idea alone can help save Davenport's health to make it through the entire season. And if he gets double-digit sacks, then
we're going to bite a kneecap off.
I love it.
You can hear
the rotation is if he does falter or if he does get injured, we're deep at the position.
And you give other guys. You love Marcus Davenport. I've been on the Josh Pascal, progression tour, and when we talk about progression, like one of the things that this coaching staff has done is proven that over a 3-year period, a 3-year track record period, that you can get some of these guys you can draft and develop. And in the 3rd year seems to be this sweet spot for guys like Derek Barnes, for guys like Ifeatu Melifonwu, guys like Aleem McNeil that really took huge steps in their 3rd year. And I believe that Josh Pascal could be one of those guys that takes that big 3rd year step. But I could be wrong on that because reports out of camp is that Pascal might be in trouble. John Kaminsky might be in trouble. because we got some other guys. You know, who's the undrafted free agent darling, Mike? Do you know anything about that? Do you know anything about?
Well, Matthew Betts is an undrafted free agent. We signed him out of the Canadian League. But
so there's one.
Isaiah Williams, the receiver from Illinois.
Yep.
Is a guy they're talking about making the team. And there's a lot of good reports out of training camps about Stephen Gilmore, brother of Stephon Gilmore, who keeps making plays. Every time he was in the game last year, he made plays. And now he's making plays, and he's going to be very, very hard to cut. Even though that cornerback room is now really loaded, him and Khalil Dorsey, these guys are going to be fighting for roster spots. Now, Khalil Dorsey always had the edge on him because of his value on special teams. But now you bring in a guy like Sion Vaki. You've got Craig Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, these guys who basically do the same thing. I don't think Khalil Dorsey has a stranglehold on that position anymore because of that. And you could be looking at Stephen Gilmore making this team.
That's a great call. That is a fierce competition room, considering that all the way from the top. I mean, I think Carlton Davis, from what I'm hearing, is he's pretty locked as one of those starting corners. But everything after that, I mean, we know all these guys can play, but we just don't know what the pecking order is going to be on the cornerback. And a couple of names that Dan Campbell brought up this morning in his press conference was Doris Fountain, wide receiver, big body guy, has been crushing it in camp. They were talking about him ahead of people like Donovan Peoples-Jones and Antoine Green, Doris Fountain. So that's a name that you can check out right there. And another name, go ahead.
No, Maurice Alexander showing out in camp. This is a guy that you and I pointed to a couple of months ago with these new kickoff rules, could be a real asset for the Lions. He's been on the practice squad for the last 2 or 3 years, I believe. Part of this organization. They like Mo Alexander. His nickname is Hard Times because he's been around. He's been into the UFL, and now he's sticking on the practice squad, and he's showing out in practice. Great highlight of a one-handed catch he made during drills. They love this guy as well. So, I mean, definitely some names to watch.
And I love that call right there. And what you just said right there is, if Maurice Alexander is going to have any chance at making this team, I mean, I don't care how good he can run a kickoff back. This team is too deep for a guy to just have a roster spot based off of just kickoff. You got to show value in the wide receiver room. Another name that he brought up, and this blows my mind because this is a Brad Holmes. We love putting feathers in Brad Holmes' cap, but running back Jameer Jefferson came out of Jan Campbell's mouth this morning. The 7th round draft. Is that like all of these draft picks that Brad Holmes drafted are sticking around this team with the possibilities of making an impact on this team? Now, I don't think Jameer Jefferson has any real shot, but just the fact that the running back room is so deep that you can mention Jameer Jefferson, you got Craig Reynolds, you got Sion Vaki, Gibbs, and Montgomery.
Zonovan Knight, fully healthy.
Zonovan Knight. So the Lions really do believe in, every single roster spot, and as the practice squad being an extension of that roster too. And they're deep. This is a deep room, and this competition for that 3, 4, I don't know how many running backs they're going to keep, but that 3, 4, and possibly maybe one more after that, that's going to be a fierce battle to get to the back. And you better be able to play special teams. You better have a couple of different things that you can do. And you know that Craig Reynolds can, and that's exactly why they drafted Sion Vaki. So do you think they'll keep 5 running backs?
No.
So, I mean, these guys might be fighting for naught. I mean, these guys actually might be fighting for
the team. Sion Vaki makes the team, not just as a running back or special teamer, but he also has value at the safety position. He gives you depth in the secondary. To have him stashed there on the bench, you get some. Not everybody's going to play. If you're going to have a guy sitting over there on the bench, let's make him multi-positional.
And before everybody jumped in, he's only going to be a running back. Now listen, guys. When you only have 48 guys that you can dress, like I'll use the Colby Sorsdahl example from last year. Is when you get into a desperate situation, if you got 4 injuries on the safety position and you're trying to think of who you're going to put in there as a guy, and you're like, okay, should I put in a wide receiver or, oh wait, Sion, get out there. That's where they're going to be able to just, in an emergency situation, you could put him in as a safety. I don't think he's going to practice as much there because they're trying to learn him on the running back room. But guys with versatility like that, like Colby Sorsdahl practiced at guard all last year, and then they had so many injuries in one of the games that they actually had to have him come in and play tackle when he hadn't even practiced there. So sometimes you can run into the injury bug, and it's better to have people that are versatile. That way you're not throwing guys into the wolves like that.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
You want to take some of these comments here?
Yeah, yes, please. I was going to go ahead.
Juan says, He also says, Then he says, And then he says, Mom's mood, loop 9, okay, line, Thank you, Twan. I think your cat's walking on your keyboard. But we appreciate you being here.
You like that?
Our good friend A-Dub, Adarian, is in the house. Another Packer fan. Great to see you, A-Dub. And then our friend Fred Peterson says, what's up, A-Dub? Your thoughts on Love getting the bag? Such a good question for A-Dub. Interested to see what your thoughts are there, A-Dub. Oh, and here he just puts it in. He says, I'm good with him getting his money. Now I'm waiting to see how well he performs this year. So you're good with him. I hate this narrative going around the internet. Only 8 games, only 9 games, and they're going to give him the money. What a bunch of idiots. That's ridiculous. Come on. You don't know what you're talking about. Over them 8-9 games, the kid was awesome. He wasn't just great. He was top 3, top 5 in the league down the stretch. He's doing everything right. He's young. He's mobile. He's got a great arm. He can make throws from different arm angles. He's the real deal, folks. And the Packers know it, and that's why they're paying him. And now you bring Caleb Williams into this division. If he's the real deal as well, this is going to be a very, very tough division for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest questions is that Caleb Williams versus the Jordan Love thing. And I know that y'all want to say that you're just going to take the division from us, which, I mean, it's very, very hard in the NFL to repeat as a division winner because of the first place schedule, because Lions won't be sneaking up on anybody this year. But you look at Jordan Love, my thoughts on the Jordan Love bag is it's the same thing it always is. He was next, or whoever was next. Actually, the fact that he got done before Prescott just means that they're going to save that much more money on that. You know, Goff getting his done early, that's just how much money you're going to save on that contract. So Jordan Love, yeah, he does only have an 8-game sample size. And that's why I can say, hey, it was a good move to sign him. You had to sign him, right? He was next. He was one of the people. He was going to hold out and hold your team back. You had to get that done. Now, with that being said, if you want to jump on your pedestal after 8 games, after beating awesome teams like, a beaten down Chicago, Minnesota, and Carolina were on that list of teams that they went off on at the end. Now, if you want to say he's the best quarterback in the league because of that, that's fine. I remember that Jared Goff went 8-2 down the stretch on when they went 9-8, and all the Green Bay Packer fans said, hey, you better pump the brakes because it's only 8-game stretch. So I'm with A-Dub on that. I want to see what he can do because the entire NFL had an entire offseason to look at what Jordan Love did. And he did end his season by throwing a horrible across the body pass that ended their playoff run. And Jared Goff can't say that. Jared Goff made every throw and put his team in a position to win that San Francisco game. That was not, no one could go back to Jared Goff in that NFC Championship game and say he was the reason that they lost. You could point to the fumble. You could point to the face mask off the face mask. You could point to the horrible secondary. You could point to the coaching because he went for it too many times. All those other things, but you can't point at Jared Goff. Now, at the end of that San Francisco game with Green Bay, you can point right at Jordan Love and say, that was awful. You lost the game in the biggest moment. That was Love's fault that they lost at the end of the game. So that's it. Steve says Russell has nightmares of those games. Russell can't sleep at night. I'm over it, man. My team fixed my problems. I don't have nightmares anymore. I had nightmares, and then the nightmare was the face mask, the ball bouncing off of Kendall Vildor's face mask and into that was my nightmare. And then they drafted Terrion Arnold, and then they drafted Ennis Rakestraw, and then they brought in Amik Robertson, and then they traded for Carlton Davis, and then Emmanuel Mosley came back. And now I'm not so much worried about balls bouncing off face masks. You guys should be worried about the Lions actually having guys that can cover now.
It should be noted that Steve's changed his profile picture during this broadcast. This guy changes his profile picture more than David Bakhtiari has knee surgery.
No,
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
that was good. That was good.
And Fred says Caleb Williams hasn't played a single down in the NFL. We have no idea what he's capable of. He could be a GOAT or could be the next Tim Tebow. It's a good take.
It is. And there's something to be said about continuity. And Steve, I'm going to disagree with you this. We are a whole different team this year. No, you're not. I'm actually, and that's the good thing about your team. Honestly, you should be happy that your team's not different. You know, out goes Aaron Jones, in comes Josh Jacobs. It's a wash. You know, out goes
Darnell Savage, in comes McKinney. Talent in, talent out.
Talent in, talent out. I mean, you got a couple of guys in there, but the most dangerous part to me about the Green Bay Packers is progression. You got 3 young wide receivers that are growing up with Jordan Love. Is that yours? Is that your phone doing that?
Vibrating. You can hear it. It's vibrating the table.
Yes, it is, because I keep on distracting my take because I'm looking at my phone saying that.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you could hear that. I didn't know that was coming through as a vibration on the. I actually have to dip, brother. I got a jet because I got a conference call I'm supposed to be on here in a minute. So I got to go, man. It's been great being on the Villain Report with you. Don't forget tonight, the main event. Peace out.
Oh, that's what he says. He says, peace out. That's main event Mike right there. And he is right. He's going to be in there tonight. And we're going to be going over the top 11 offensive line rooms tonight in the NFC. In the NFC, not the NFL. Top 11 offensive line rooms. We're finishing up our top 11 series tonight with Mike. And this is funny right here. I mean, you have no idea what's coming. I have no idea what's coming. You have no idea what's coming. There you go. Two can play at that game. I'm not scared of the Packers at all. The Lions, I think, are the best team in the NFC this year. I think that with Trent Williams holding out and all that, I think that the Lions have passed San Francisco in this situation because we're progressing. You should be scared of our progression too. And I do believe that Green Bay is a top 10 team in the NFL. And I do believe that they are getting better. I do believe that the Bears got themselves a lot better. And Fred Peterson says if the Packers got a whole new team, then the Lions are on a whole nother level. We have fixed all of the holes on the team. Yeah, Packer fans come in here trolling. That's fine. That's fine. A-Dub's not much of a troller. And Steve is my wrestling buddy. That's right, brother. So I'll put a shout out to my wrestling page right here. If you like all these little wrestling innuendos, Go follow my wrestling page, WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk. SummerSlam's this weekend. And I love, once I get to 5,000, I'm going to start a show just like this for my wrestling page right there. So go over and give me a follow. WrestleMania Pro Wrestling Talk. There you go. My little shameless plug right there. So this is the Lion Villain Report. We're live on JC Sports. JC Sports, thank you for allowing us to be in that circle. JC Sports does it all. They do Red Wings. They got the Tigers. They're talking Michigan football, talking Lions football. Joe Chap does a nice job with all of that stuff. We're also broadcasting live into our page. Make sure you go over and follow the page. Lions Villain Squad. We got 51,000 villains. We're going to be at 52,000 here in a minute. Season's starting to ramp up. And the Detroit Lions News Podcast, Joe Chap, and all of the guys over there. And we appreciate that. We appreciate doing that. Who's going to be rushing opposite Aiden Hutchinson? Who are the top 11 offensive line rooms in the NFC? We'll be going over that tonight. Today we are talking about the top Lions training camp stories. And the top training camp stories broke 4 minutes before I started the show today, which is Taylor Decker gets a bag. So Taylor Decker gets a bag, gets a 3-year extension, 3 years, $60 million for starting left tackle. Steve says I look like Triple H. Oh, I love you guys. The Bears front line is still suspect. It's a good possibility Caleb Williams will be running for his life. I think the NFC North is going to be the toughest division in football this year. I think there's going to be some battles. And I know that Steve says we have no idea what is coming. I think that the Green Bay Packers don't know what's coming from the Chicago Bears this year. Now, the Green Bay Packers have had their way with the Chicago Bears. Ownership. I can't even remember. Steve, you can tell me, when was the last time that the Chicago Bears beat you guys? And I know that the Bears, I mean, their Super Bowl, even if they can't have a great season this year, their Super Bowl is going to be getting a victory over those Green Bay Packers. I do not think that the Green Bay Packers are going to sweep the Bears this year. This is the year that the Bears are going to get a victory over the Packers. And I could be wrong, because I honestly think that the division is going to be that tough. I think the Lions go 4-2, 5-1 in the division this year, depending on what that is. I think that everyone's going to sweep the Vikings. The Vikings just aren't good. Vikings can't even, poor Vikings. Poor Vikings. Poor Skull. I actually feel bad for Skull because the injuries with Blackman and the tragic death of Kyrie Jackson, and it's just bad, lots of bad luck for the Vikings, and in this division where everybody got so good, it's going to be really hard for the Vikings to do anything this year. Steve says, what if the Bears win the division? Just saying, what if it is, with all three of these teams progressing the way that they are. And I know I don't have any Homer goggles over my eyes to think that the Lions are just going to go wax these teams. I just think that the Lions are better than the Packers now. I think they've passed them. I think that you guys need to answer the questions from this point. Now, we don't know what's coming, Steve. That's fine. You can think that we don't know what's coming, but the thing is we had a better record last year. We went further in the playoffs. We won the division. We split in the season. And I mean, you guys haven't won a game in Lambeau against the Lions in like 3 years. So you guys got more questions to answer than we do. And our team got a hell of a lot better this offseason too. You ain't the only team that improved. As a matter of fact, our team improved more than your team did when it comes down to it. And, you know, you signed Jordan Love. That was a good move. And that's it. Do you believe in your team? Do you believe in your team? That's a big question. And if you're a Green Bay Packer fan, you have every right to believe in your team. But as a Lion fan, and this is a Lions-based show, so if you are watching and you are a Lions fan, I am just kind of talking trash to my rival friends, but you can believe in this team. There's no reason. There's no reason. Don't listen to all the history and all that BS. This is a different Lions team. They know it. They know it. Dan Campbell ain't in training camp right now, preaching how great they are. Dan Campbell was saying they almost made it last year, and they arrived onto the scene, but it wasn't enough. They need to do everything that they did last year and more. It takes more. And these guys are hungry. I'm telling you, these guys on the Detroit Lions roster, they are hungry to win a Super Bowl. And I believe they're the hungriest team in the NFL. And I've listened to a whole bunch of training camps, and everybody else is saying the things that they need to say. But there's something inside the eye of the tiger. There's a lot of Lion players that feel a certain kind of way about the way that things happened last year. And what happened in the NFC Championship, you should get nightmares from that. You should get nightmares from that. They should be scared to death that would happen ever again. And they're working like they're scared to death that that's going to be happening again. And the way that doesn't happen again is that you get incrementally better, and that you don't take your foot off the gas, and all these second and third year players going into their third and fourth year just continue to progress. You were one of the best teams in the NFL last year, and you hadn't even arrived yet. You had a 29th ranked secondary. You know, there's only when you rip a team apart all the way to the studs like Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell did. I mean, there's only so much that you can do. You only have so many draft picks and so much money to fix your team. And they fixed all of the other spots, and it got down to where they just needed to fix the secondary in this offseason. Everything else was set. We already had a deep linebacker core. We got defensive linemen and guys that were able to get pressure on the quarterback. They just couldn't get home. And the main reason they couldn't get home is because they had a secondary that couldn't cover. They had to send blitzing to get pressure. So with the improvements that they made, they're going to be able to be better in those situations. They drastically, they didn't just improve the secondary. I mean, Steve says you believe in your team. That's fine. You bring in Xavier McKinney. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. It's a little bit of an upgrade over Darnell Savage, but the Lions brought in 5 cornerbacks that are all better. They're all better than the best one that we had last year. And you can say, well, they're not all going to pan out. And you're probably right. They're not all going to be studs, or maybe they will be. But there's 5 guys. The chances of all 5 of those cornerbacks being duds is, especially with Holmes' track record and finding talent. You really want me to believe, or you're trying to make Lion fans believe that all 5 of those guys would be complete duds? It's not going to happen. They're going to find a combination of guys, and they have a deep secondary now. It went from a weakness to possibly a strength. But if the Lions would have had an average secondary last year, they would have probably won the Super Bowl. That's how bad the secondary was. All we needed was an average, so we didn't even need a good secondary. just average. Hey, can you not let a number one wide receiver get 100 yards and a touchdown, 200 yards and a touchdown? I mean, come on. So they fixed that. Detroit Fan Man says, happy birthday to Brad Holmes. This was probably covered, but I just wanted to say it again. No, you're breaking it, Detroit Fan Man. I've been waiting for that. Happy birthday to you, Brad Holmes. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Brad Holmes, the best GM in the entire NFL. Happy birthday to you.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
There you go. Got to sing happy birthday to my boy, Brad Holmes. To the studs, too much money. Regardless of what the team, I wouldn't like any player on my team being a top paid player. I'd rather distribute the money, get better players where it is needed, not just take care of one. Yeah. I believe in that a little bit, Fred, but you got to pay your players. You know, the too much money thing, I think, is thrown around a little bit too much, because really you can technically say that about every player that's going to get paid. And it's like when you're next, those agents, you know, they're good agents. You know, they want to go out and get as much money as possible. They're always going to get top market value for the guys that they get in. So I would rather distribute the money around than take care of just one. I do agree with that part of it. I think Brad Holmes does that. He does distribute it, especially when it comes with outside free agents. The guys that you want to give the bags to are the guys that you draft and develop. Just like it. What does Russell think about the Falcons and Eagles and Cowboys that make some noise in the NFC? I think that I believe in the Falcons and Eagles a hell of a lot more than I believe in the Cowboys. The Cowboys are in trouble. You want to know what cap hell is? What cap hell is what the Dallas Cowboys are going through right now. CeeDee Lamb, I want a bag. Dak Prescott, I want a bag. Micah Parsons, I want a bag. Something's got to give there. That's what happens when you give out crazy contracts and you just want to pay a player and you're not really thinking future. You're just putting those bags. You're not staggering the contracts to where you can save money, because you have to draft well. If you don't draft well, that means you're not saving money anywhere. And you can't just pay. I mean, any player can go out and buy the best player that's out there, but you need more than that. You need more than that. So the Cowboys, I think, are going to take a huge step back this year. I think the Cowboys might actually not make the playoffs. I think that would be a hot take, I think. But I don't think the Cowboys, I think they're going to take a huge step back this year. I think that this might be a year that the San Francisco 49ers also take a step back. Now, the Falcons, on the other hand, that's a scary team right there. That's a team that has got a lot of really, really good skill players that are going into their third, fourth year. I mean, say what you want about Kyle Pitts, that hasn't materialized yet. Tight ends take a minute. That guy's a freak of nature. And you got Bijan Robinson. And you got Drake London. You got Kirk Cousins there. You got a defense that's really young. They've been using lots of draft picks high draft picks on defenders. And they have a bunch of guys that were playing well last year. I think Atlanta is a team that could take a big step forward this year. Good young roster, depending on what Kirk Cousins can do down there. They even got his heir apparent to take over, and Michael Penix Jr. So Fred Peterson says that the Cowboys did nothing in the offseason. Eagles should run the NFC East. They should have ran it last year, Fred. I mean, coming down the stretch last year, they kind of crapped the bed, if you ask me. And Elise says, I agree with the Cowboys take. Bad juju coming out of Dallas. It is, you got to pay the piper at some point in time. You can't just keep on, when you got so many of those high-end players. I mean, Dak Prescott, from the stats, this dude loves to put up numbers in the regular season. Dude can't get it done in the playoffs. I think there's a chance that they actually move off of Dak Prescott. And either that or they're going to have to let one of those other guys go, or they're not going to be able to pay and have a deep team. Fred Peterson said, yeah, the Eagles Patricia the bed. They did. As soon as Matt Patricia came onto that team, man, it was like, yeah, the jury was out on that one. Come on. So, yeah, I think out of those, those Eagles, gosh, Saquon Barkley, they still got a good offensive line. Quinyon Mitchell. They draft well over there. That's another good GM over there. And, but I like those Falcons. I like those Falcons to be the one that comes out of that division there. So, yeah. Falcons, Eagles, Cowboys. They're not Eagles and Falcons make some noise. Cowboys, they're going to Patricia the bed. There you go. Oh, we're coming down to the end. Getting down to the end. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. We are live on Roku. We're live on JC Sports YouTube, the Own Villain Squad YouTube, the Facebook page, Lions Villain Squad. We want to welcome Elise Memes. Elise Memes is now part of the Villain Squad page, so be looking out. We've been sharing some of her content from her page, but go support Elise. Elise is one of our everydayers in here. She agrees with me on the Cowboys, but check out that. Look at that. She's got the ski mask on, and she's hoping with some of the 51,000 people, maybe Amon-Ra St. Brown is listening right now, because I know that Elise Memes right there. You love to have your name put right up there next to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, but from Russell Wayne, that's me and the Villain Squad. Hope that everybody has a great day, and may the Lord bless you. I'm going to take off. But I love saying a blessing over your life right here, because if you can hear this word, receive this. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again tonight for the Main Event Football Show with me and Mike. We'll see you tonight. God bless you. Peace out.
Your opportunity. It's your opportunity. Opportunity.